Welcome to the Meetings Podcast, the meeting organizer's podcast source for what's new in the meetings and events industry. Meetings Podcast is a conversation with a variety of voices that looks at events, meetings, and media. Meetings Podcast is sponsored by IMEX America, America's worldwide exhibition for incentive travel, meetings, and events.
Hi, this is Mike. Thank you again for tuning in to the Meetings Podcast. I want to thank today's sponsors. Of course, there's IMEX America, and there's also, I wanted to give you that free offer from audibletrial.com/meetings podcast. You can get a free audiobook download from them. It's a great thing to check out. They have a ton of books in there to choose from. One book that I really enjoyed reading, it was a fun one called The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. Sounds funny, but sounds like a funny book. Not a funny book, sounds like a scary book, but it's not. It's a very clever book, so check that out. And I wanted to welcome another new sponsor. This one is GOTS.co. GOTS stands for Get on the Stage, and GOTS is the speaker wearable. It's sleek, colorful, alluring, sexy. It's fashion, function, and fun, and it's your new must-have speaker accessory. Basically what it does is it's we know it's hard to keep your executive speakers happy. It takes work, commitment, and care. And so it's like almost taking care of your own child sometimes when you're dealing with your executive speakers. So we want to make sure that our speakers are safe, secure, and before addressing their audiences, and we want to know where they are at all times. So basically, this is an event wearable. It's a bracelet, and it says it stands for get on the stage, and it has a two-way audio on it, so you can actually talk to your speaker on it. It tracks the speaker through GPS around the conference, so you can actually know where they are at all times before they have to go on stage. So it's pretty cool. So you can talk to them, you can train them basically to be where you need them to be, and you can listen to them talk too, so they can talk back to you. It's got a two-way audio on there. So it was GOTS.co was developed by a conference producer, and it says here it's because one of her own speakers had wandered off backstage and was fatally struck by a falling road case. And that's why she built this GPS tracking ability, and through geolocation, it only scratches the surface of stuff I think you could probably do with this bracelet. So check it out. It's GOTS.co. It's GOTS.co, and that again stands for Get on the Stage. So let's get started with our next podcast, and this is with Michelle Bruno. Michelle Bruno is awesome, like all our guests, but I hope you enjoy the show, and I will talk to you at the end to fill in any gaps. So talk to you then. Welcome back to the Meetings Podcast. This is Mike McAllen from Grass Shack Events and Media, and today we are lucky enough to have Michelle Bruno on the podcast. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Mike.
How are things?
How are you? I'm good.
Good. Everything is fine. You are a writer, blogger, and technology journalist based in Salt Lake City, Utah. That's where Salt Lake City is, if people didn't know. You develop content and content strategies for event industry technology companies at the Bruno Group Signature Services. You write about event innovation at the Fork in the Road blog, and you publish the Event Tech Brief, which is a weekly newsletter and a website on event technology. You're a former meeting planner and have received both your certified meeting professional CMP and certified exhibit. What can I read? Exhibition manager. Sorry, I have a California public school education. CEM designations. You hold a Master of Professional Communications degree. So let's get started. Let's talk a little bit about you. You and I have known each other for a long time now, which is great.
And it's been a pleasure every single second.
We share a love of Thai food, which we had recently. That was fun.
Yes, we do.
And so let's get started. So let's why don't you tell me your favorite quote?
So I'm guessing you're expecting it to be some sort of, Dale Carnegie or go, go, go business quote or something like that.
No, not necessarily.
Well, actually, that question is easy for me. I've always, in my head, think about these words, and it's Shakespeare's Sonnet 73, which I just learned this morning when I actually Googled this quote and wondered where it came from. But the quote is, "This thou perceivest, which makes thy love more strong, to love that well, which thou must leave ere long." And I've thought and rolled this around in my head for years. And it's really, to me, just sort of means make the most of every endeavor, squeeze every little bit out of every experience, really love well the people that you're with all the time, and just, sort of, make the most of every single day. And I think that kind of transcends any sort of work or professional quote, because really at the end of the day, I think it's about, loving and living, and, when it becomes your time to just make sure that you've done every single thing that you possibly could do in the best way that you can do it.
I agree. That's a great one. A great one. I think about that too, because I'm always like worried about work. Oh, I don't have enough work, and then because I have my own business, we got to get more business, and then I have a lot of business. I'm like, God, I hate having all this work. It's like work is not the thing you should be thinking about. I mean, it's important, but it's not the number one thing. You're right.
No, and I think after a certain while, when you become established in your business, the work it does come naturally. Mm-hmm. Not that you let down your guard ever, but I've learned not to worry about getting the work.
Yeah.
It come.
Yeah.
And you have to use past work as your sort of commercial, right?
Right.
As your own best marketing. So.
Yeah, it's very interesting because with our, AV for planners, which a lot about, we've talked about that a lot. It's kind of taken a kind of a turn, and it's more, it's actually doing well, but then I've kind of stepped away from it more because I'm really I've worked on it with John, but John's really the AV nerdo. I'm more of a production guy. I like the creative portion of events and stuff. So I've kind of gotten back now into doing my Grass Shack stuff, which I still do the AV for planner stuff, but that's more kind of on autopilot now because we have some bigger clients and it's working.
Yeah.
But now I started saying, well, I'm doing Grass Shack stuff again, and I haven't looked for any work. And like I was telling you yesterday here, I have a shoulder injury, and I haven't been able to really type because it's my right arm. But I had 3 proposals to do yesterday, and one came in this morning. And it's like, a moment I kind of opened the door to it, all this work is coming, which is fantastic. Anyway. But life is more, when you have an injury too like this, you think about life as, think about. And then we've also had some pets die recently, so it's been kind of realizing you have to kind of appreciate what you have.
Yeah, maybe it's a maturity thing. Just the older you get,
I'm not getting older. What do you mean?
I'm speaking for myself. I said maturity, not as in wine or meats, as in life experiences.
Yes.
I don't know. You just have a different perspective, I think, on everything.
I agree. I agree. So how did you get into this whole industry? Now, you said you were a meeting planner, or I read you were a meeting planner before this, before you started writing. What got you into meeting planning? What was your road?
Right. My mother. My mother started a company many years ago to do transportation logistics. In other words, she shipped exhibits around the world to different trade shows.
Oh, how interesting.
So my first job in the business was to literally go to different countries, get the exhibits in through customs on the stand, and then at the end of the show, pack them up and go in the reverse direction, get them out through customs and back into the U.S.
Wow. So when did this start? When did she start doing this?
She started probably early 80s.
Huh.
And I joined her in 84.
Wow. So that was fun. You got to travel around all over then, huh?
I got to travel, and it was fun to a certain extent, but I have to say it was the most difficult job that anyone could have, because think about it. We didn't have cell phones. Even making telephone calls from country to country was a bit difficult. I mean, those were days where you actually, to make an international call, sometimes in these countries that we went to, we had to go to a place where you wait in line, you go into a phone booth, and an operator connects you.
Funny.
And that's what it was like. So even, we didn't even have faxes till a little bit later. And the countries that we chose to work in were the countries that nobody else wanted. So we worked in Eastern Europe, we worked in China, and that was Eastern Europe just even before before the Berlin Wall fell.
Wow.
So it was communist in some of those countries. And we worked in Latin America when it was really underdeveloped. It was before NAFTA. So I don't know what my mother was thinking, but she obviously was confident. And I worked with my siblings also on and off over the years. So she was confident to sort of let us go into these countries. And
does she have a lot of kids? Was it like she could lose one here and there?
No, there's only three of us. And it was just absolutely crazy. So the things that, we really had to do to get the exhibits in through customs in extremely difficult situations and circumstances, I look back at that and I just wonder how I even survived. It was like half the time I was so excited that I actually was able to do it, and the other half I just wanted to get the heck out of there and go home and hide under my pillow. It was extremely difficult work.
Where are you from originally? Where did this all take place?
Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Based in Chicago.
Wow. That's such a cool story.
Yeah. So after that, my mom sold the company. I actually moved from Chicago to Salt Lake City and had to just kind of start something over again. So I decided to go into the event organization side and started a company to develop conferences and some consumer events and some business trade shows and things like that. And so I went to the organizer side.
What a breeze that must have been after dealing with all these other countries.
Well, I mean, it was, it was equally complex because I went from the supplier side to the organizer side and had to really teach myself everything. I mean, the CEM and the CMP and all of that stuff, thank goodness those programs were available. Mm-hmm. But really, that's just sort of theory on paper.
Right.
Once you, start doing it is where the real learning starts. And I thought it was interesting, but also complex in a lot of ways and risky and scary. And, I launched my own shows eventually, not just doing the work for other people. So that was, nothing scares you like, this, the day before everything opens and it's actually executed, wondering if people are going to actually show up, wondering if all of your marketing paid off. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the scariest yet most exhilarating thing there is. So
what kind of shows? What kind of shows were you producing?
We did everything from a senior expo for the local aging services, where it was all the attendees were senior citizens, and the exhibits were every sort of senior type of service, and that was challenging. We've done quilts, machine quilting, where the exhibitors were people that sell products and services for machine quilting, and the attendees were quilters. We've done personal finance, just everything. We owned a pet show for a number of years where people actually brought their dogs and cats and birds and snakes. Just all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
That's fun.
Mm-hmm. So
I guess you kind of already answered the next question I like to ask is the biggest challenge, but you've already talked about your challenges.
Really, I think that the biggest challenge now for me, and always has been, is boredom. Especially when you have your own business. It's just thinking of ways to earn money that are also challenging and stimulating at the same time.
Right.
And it's kind of a fine balance. So a lot of the challenges that I've taken on were things that I really didn't know how to do, but the driving force was this need to be consistently stimulated and avoid boredom so that I could always want to get up every day and go to work
Yeah.
and do things that were challenging.
Yeah. I have the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of never been able to hold a job. So that's why I started my own business, because it was just like the things that have excited me were when I was a fireman. That was such fun because every day was different. And
Yeah.
then this business seems to be the same way. It's just, you never know what you're getting into. And then some days I long for a job that I could just go and, do one thing. Be a
I know
sales
you.
guy or be.
I know you.
I know, but
You
someday,
would be so unhappy.
and to get a regular paycheck would be interesting someday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun the way now it's because it's almost, it's job by job, but
Mm-hmm.
it'd be neat to get a paycheck again one day.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing that check come in and then know that most of it is going away.
I think
to all the vendors
you and I are a bit beyond that.
Yeah.
That, that desire to have a steady paycheck is really, it's just not as exciting as having a client pay you and you've put everything, every ounce of energy and creativity into it is far more exciting to me. And I know it is to you.
Yeah.
And plus you don't have any boundaries other than what the clients will sign on to.
Right.
But they listen and they trust you. You just don't get that from a regular job.
Yeah. And that's an interesting thing too. Have you seen that internet video going around about people asking for RFPs for different? Have you seen that? It's so funny. Oh, I wish you had seen it because it'd be a better conversation. But it's basically people going in and asking for RFPs from people. They go into the frame shop and the guy says, "Okay, well, I'm going to give you this frame shop. I want you to do all the work beforehand, and then you tell me what it's going to cost, and then next year I'll pay you less for doing the same thing." And it's just very funny because he goes into a restaurant too and asks the chef, I'm going to try it, but I'm not sure, I want to see what you can do. And the guy just screams at him to get out the door. Anyway, that just reminds me of what you were just saying. But anyway, okay, so tell me, what was the moment that you knew that you had made the right decision in this career, or has that happened yet? Has that happened yet?
No, I don't think so. I think that I have this sort of philosophy of allowing the work to come to me. I mean, my daughter said once that if it's really important, people will come to you, and that's worked for me. I've never had these sort of aha moments where I just really realized that is the one thing that I just want to do for the rest of my life. It's sort of the opposite. I want to create things. And if they resonate with people, people will notice and they'll ask me to do more of those. And then I'll become even more proficient and I'll love it even more. And my clients and me will be happy co-creating and moving forward. There's no real aha moment in that. It's just sort of this ongoing realization that if I really put everything into it, people will notice and they'll pay me and we can move forward together. And it's worked. Call me crazy.
No, that makes perfect sense. And so tell me basically what you do. I mean, what is the thing that, what's the current thing you're doing that you're enjoying the most, and kind of take me through the process about how it works. So, you have several things that you do.
Well, what I really do is explain things. And because I've always been interested in explaining them in a written form factor, what I mostly do is write explanations of how things work. It can be blog posts, it can be white papers, I write web content, but it all really comes down to simplifying things that are overly complex and sort of conveying ideas on behalf of people so that their prospects and customers and community constituents, whatever you want to call them, will understand a little bit better what these companies stand for. And really, at the end of the day, I look at it as solving puzzles. So most of the time, clients come to me and they say, I have like all of this sort of content that we've created or that other people have created, and it's given to me in sort of this big pile. And what they ask of me is to take this content or take their ideas, simplify it, make sense of it in a way that will be much more appealing to the people that they want to try to reach.
Okay, so what's your what event would you like to attend, or what's your favorite event?
I love book readings and where the author can read passages from a book that I've actually read, and I get to see them reading their own words and, sort of putting the words together with the person, and sort of realize that this urge to put beautiful words on paper is something that's valued and compelling, and I don't feel so alone also wanting to do that, even though most of my writing is of a technical nature.
Mm-hmm.
I still consider it an art form in a lot of ways, and I love to see people that have pursued the same art form as me, and it's very interesting. And plus, there's usually not a lot of people there, so I like being in small, more intimate settings with them.
Is there an event that you want to go to?
No, having grown up in the event industry, I feel like I've been to many, many different sorts of events and conferences, and my husband and I go to a lot of concerts and musical events. So there's nothing that I wake up in the morning and really crave. I love, really, I love plays. I love theatrical events, and I love musical events like opera and classical music and stuff like that, and rock concerts. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the sort of things that really interest me more than business to business trade shows or something like that.
Right, right. And I remember you talked about you and your daughter went to the World Domination Summit.
Yeah,
Yeah, which was
we
interesting.
did.
That was I went
Hmm.
to it the year before. I found it to be very,
Yeah.
very interesting as a whole.
Yeah, I thought what was interesting about it was my 20-year-old daughter's perspective afterwards. She felt like it was, she really loved it, but that it certainly was a lot of, you know, drama around, the way people get together and what they want to do when they get together and ways that they find interesting about getting together. We had lots of discussions of me saying, "Well, what did you think of today?" And her saying, "Well, I thought it was pretty weird. Why did they do this? And why did we have to dress in our pajamas, go out and break a world record for the most people having breakfast in bed?" And it was just like this really strange activity that you old people, engaged in when, like people in her generation, they'll just like kind of sit around and kind of chit chat with three or four friends and play games, and they just do it differently. So that was probably the most exciting thing about World Domination Summit, seeing a different event through her eyes.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably the best part of it, is just experiencing it with her. I know if people don't know what the World Domination Summit is, it's a thing up in Portland where like how many people went to it? Like thousands, right?
Yeah, there was about over 3,000
Three
last year.
thousand, and it's just kind of an inspirational. A lot of people who are like coaches, like personal coaches, kind of people. Is that the name what they call them? Like,
Yeah, and I think I felt like a lot of people that sort of dropped out of the mainstream workforce
yeah,
to pursue their own ideas.
yeah,
There's a lot of those in the audience,
of
which
authors, a lot of
I am too. Yeah.
internet business type of people, and
Hmm.
so it's kind of it's not they're not really dominating the world. and the guy who puts it on, that Chris Gillaboo, is an interesting bird too.
Yeah.
So I had a good time at it too, but I had the same kind of feeling. I went with my wife, and
Hmm.
it was just, we were kind of, it was fun because the speakers are also good though too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really
Excellent.
inspirational, and I watched a few of them now since they've been posting them,
Uh-huh.
like that Lewis Howes, and
Oh.
it's just amazing,
Hmm.
with they just interesting takes on everything. Anyway, all right. Well, sorry, I don't want to get all off on that whole thing, but it's great that you went to that. I think there's a website called Chip Connolly has called 500 Festivals. Have you ever seen
Oh,
that
really?
website? Yeah,
No.
Chip Connolly's from. He works at Airbnb now, but he was the Joe Aviv Hotel Group.
Huh.
Do you know who he is?
No.
So
Uh-uh.
he started these boutique hotels that he would do two magazines and basically put them together and do these cool hotels, boutique hotels. And he started them in San Francisco. And he's a very interesting guy. I've seen him speak a few times. He wrote this book about Maslow's what is it, pyramid to whatever.
Yeah.
He's a very interesting guy. But he has his website. He likes to go to festivals. He's a big Burning Man guy, and so it's an
Hmm.
interesting. I think it's 500 festivals, but I always thought that for myself, like to do that. Like just pick a festival every year and go to Zimbabwe
No,
and go to the festival.
yes, that would definitely interest me. And the weirder, the better.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
You
that's what
know.
that's what the world domination thing for me was. It's like, what is this? I wanted to go see it. All right, so tell me, what is the best advice you've ever received?
Um, I guess it's okay to, step to the tune of a different drummer, to sort of be more of a leader instead of a follower, I think. And I come from a long line of female entrepreneurs who endeavored to start businesses and do their own thing, way back in my grandmother's time, and then my mother. And I think, they've always, I don't ever remember a time when they sat down and said, Michelle, go off and do your own thing and don't be afraid to do it. But they definitely showed me through their own example that sort of living in the mainstream was maybe not the most fulfilling thing in the world to do, and not to be afraid to expand your horizons, both personally and professionally, get out in the world, see different things, meet different people. And although there may be some level of sacrifice attributed to thinking differently and doing differently, it's wholeheartedly the best path to take, and the best advice that I ever received.
Very cool. What is working for you right now? Is there something that you are taking using a new app on your phone, a vitamin, an exercise program, a work hack, something? Do you have something that you want to share that's been working for you lately?
Well, everything is working for me. I mean, I've got to say that I've never been in a better spot in my life because, right now I've been able to sort of, aggregate all my life's experience together and put them in the same bucket, and then squeeze work out of that
Hmm.
life experience bucket, and add a dimension to my work that I think people that aren't at this level of, this time in their life, can do. But I'm really interested. I've joined sort of this online think tank called Tentpole, and we get online pretty much every week, share ideas, explore different areas of thought, different companies, different theories inside of events. And it's growing in nature. There's no cost to join. There's no, nothing really expected of people except that when you get together, you share your ideas, and what we're trying to build is really more of a collaborative experience around changing the event industry. So that's pretty interesting, and I really look forward to those discussions
Is it?
once a
How
week.
is it done? Is it? Is it? Do you,
There
is
are
it a
there
distinct?
are yeah, some individuals that got the idea and they put together this online platform, and they've organized the platform around five, I think six different what they call rings. And the rings are organized around different aspects, different stakeholders in events. So you have sort of the event participant ring, and you have the event technology ring, and you have the venue ring. And it revolves around this theory that to actually really do good work in the event industry, you have to balance the work across all the stakeholder rings. You can't just do everything really great for venues at the expense of event technology companies or at the expense of organizers. To really affect change and to really make sure that the ideas that come to the fore are having the greatest impact, they have to impact every stakeholder with equal, at least equal, measure in order for the idea to progress and for everyone to grab onto the idea and for the entire industry to benefit. So there's a lot of layers of complexity, but for me, I love layers of complexity because I listen to what everybody says and what they contribute, and then sort of think about how it impacts what I do and how I think and how I can impact other people. And so that's kind of what's working for me right now. There apps come and go, but I try and live in a at a little bit higher level where I think
Yeah.
ideas more than you think about specific apps and
How does it?
technology.
Is it a message board, or are you all talking? Is it a? How does it work?
It is right now the sort of discussion happens on a platform called Blue Jeans,
Hmm, no idea.
and it's sort of this interactive combination of like Google Hangouts and Blab and all of those, but it's far more organized. And whoever's speaking, their picture appears at the top. You can, as a participant, choose to be there with your video, or you can, block your video, and then you can also ask questions. So it's kind of like a hybrid of all those things, but you can also, it's like a go-to meeting sort of thing too. So it's really it works very well. I mean, there's very little like when people get on, they're like, oh, my audio doesn't work, my this doesn't work. It seems to work, really well cross platform. So we get underway, and a lot of the evening, discussion is around what tentpole is about, what the different rings are about, how participants can contribute, and it's really just this exchange of ideas. And I hope it really expands and goes places because I think
Interesting.
it's something we need.
That's a great one. That's
Hmm.
great. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, do we could use your intellect.
Well, thank you.
Hmm.
So, what's your favorite industry event that you attend? Do you really like one or the other?
No, I'm kind of disappointed
Yeah.
about our industry events. I don't feel that they are, I feel that they have way too many constraints placed upon them by the fact that they're organized by associations.
Hmm.
And associations, by their very nature, have to sort of appeal to the masses rather than bring original ideas to the fore. So they have to go with the lowest common denominator sometimes
Hmm.
because of the way that they're structured, and they really are risk averse. So while I like many of them, and I do attend on and off over the years, I really, it's not something that I wake up and say, January 1st, I am so excited about spending my time and treasure going to this industry event or that. They really proved to me to be overall fairly disappointing. How do you feel?
Well, I've only been going to them for the last couple of years, and I just like seeing the people. I found, when I first went, I was all excited about going to the sessions,
Yeah.
because I thought they were interesting, but then I seemed to find they were the same people
Yeah.
in every single place you went to.
Yeah.
And then, but I really like the people. So I kind
Hmm.
of have a good time just seeing people. And that's,
Yeah.
especially now since I've been going for a few years, it seems like, Lena, like we were just came back from IMEX, like I really enjoy that, just seeing everybody.
Yeah.
And that I really get a kick out of seeing you and other people
Yeah.
that, that I really like, that I wouldn't get to see normally then. So that's the one thing I do like about them. But I don't like going across the country to go to one of them.
Yeah. I mean, it almost makes you think, well, if the only reason or one of the major reasons why I want to go and see these people, and the feeling is mutual, because that's why I want to go, is just to see people. We should just make our own event, have it be exactly in the center of the country, and
Yeah.
once a year, let's just get together and exchange ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
You
it's a good
know,
idea. I mean, that's kind of
instead
what we
of
were trying to do with the event camp stuff. We were trying to make it kind of that kind of a thing.
yeah. And I think, for a lot of, even though there was criticism around them, there was also a lot of good and a lot of excitement. You know,
Yeah, I didn't really. The criticism around them for me was, I always thought that was so silly. All of that
yeah,
was so stupid. It was just
yeah,
really dumb, and I couldn't. It was such a micron of the whole thing. But I think that comes from people who want to be in control of everything. It was. Anyway, we can go on about that whole event.
Well, the other option for us is to pick one event that most of us go to
Hmm.
and make lists of everyone we want to see and just go out to our own people and go, we're going to this event.
Yeah,
Please come so we can see you there.
yeah, that's a good idea. That's probably the best way to go ahead and do it,
Yeah.
and then
And
block.
Las Vegas seems like a great place for everyone to meet,
Yeah, it really is.
you
and,
know?
and it's inexpensive if you want,
Yep.
and easy to get to.
Yep. So
Okay, so last question: if you could talk to the high school senior you, what would you tell yourself?
I could tell myself that there are so many great things in store for you, that even though you'll have ups and downs personally and professionally, that if you just try to always, it sounds so corny, um, find a silver lining, you'll find that even the downs, the downside, the more of the ebbs rather than the flows, can be, you know, reshaped so that you can see them for the educational experiences that they really are,
Hmm.
and and be able to move forward with those things. But the I always say to myself now, and what I would say to myself then, is never get too high with the highs and never get too low with the lows. Just sort of take a look at what's in front of you on your plate, make the best of it you can, and move forward.
Yep.
And you'll always remain intact, and again, be able to extract the best experience you can out of everything.
Very cool. All right, Michelle, thank you so much for speaking with me. How can people get a hold of you if they want to just call you up and hire you to do all sorts of stuff, or just chat
Well,
with you?
they can go to brunogroup.com. They can reach me by email, michelle@brunogroup.com. They can, of course, subscribe to eventtechbrief.com.
Hmm.
And I'm on Twitter at Michelle Bruno.
Perfect.
So come on down, people. I'm a really good listener.
You are. You really are. All right. Thank you so much, and until next time. Okay, that was great. Thank you, Michelle, for being on the show. It was a very interesting conversation. It's hard for me to say that, actually. It was interesting for me. I don't know if it was for Michelle, and I hope it was for you. I want to thank again IMEX for sponsoring IMEX America, for sponsoring the podcast. I want to also thank GOTS.co, that very cool new wearable bracelet to keep track of your executives on site. Make sure to check them out. And also, don't forget to pick up your free Audible book that you can get by just going to audibletrial.com/meetings podcast. You can check out the Graveyard book. I'm about to start to read The Martian. I'm actually not reading it. I am going to listen to it, and I've heard that's a good book. And recently I listened to The Boys in the Boat, which was another great book. These are all just fun books. I could start actually putting business books up there if you'd like. But I also, if you could do me a favor and go on to iTunes and go in there, it helps us get found. If you could put a review in there, tell us what you think about the show, and that would be fantastic. So thank you very much for listening to the show, and have a great day, and I will see you next time.
We appreciate and thank you for listening to the Meetings Podcast. Please email with any questions or comments to meetingspodcast@gmail.com. Meetings Podcast is sponsored by IMEX America, America's worldwide exhibition for incentive travel, meetings, and events. The Meetings Podcast theme music is brought to you by the Delgado Brothers, which can be found at delgadobrothers.com.